really important to keep that in mind as we go into these protests in the upcoming weeks. When we look at our public service folks and say, well, how do we actually bridge the divide that seems to be happening? When it's real time on the ground, it's different than when it's just a conversation point. When you're actually standing face to face with somebody and having a conversation that might not be that pleasant. We were just chatting about this last night. I said, so what do you tap into? Like the masculine, I got that, or the feminine, more, okay, break into tears. I said, I would tend to just reach out and hug somebody because I don't have the words. Oh, that's going to get me in lots of trouble, right?
Well, I'll tell you a story. I turned up 2 weeks ago in
Yes.
Square, 35,
Yes.
40,000 people.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
I hugged it must have been hundreds of people because
Yes.
I was there for a few hours. Hundreds of people, and they were selfies and at real close proximity with so many people for so long. Never
Yes.
mind 15 minutes.
Right.
And funnily enough, I didn't get the virus.
Right.
It's ludicrous, but you had that 35, 40,000 people, none of them wearing masks, of course. And
right.
the police turn up in masks, can't even see their face.
Yes.
We talk about, the faceless authority. Well, it's literal now. You can't see their face. It's just extraordinary. And some of the police were kind of okay, but we've had situations where my son Gareth has been speaking. There was one in Sheffield recently in English, the southern north of England,
Mm-hmm.
and the brutality of the police on peaceful protesters was absolutely outrageous. But this is the reframing of their psyche that has led to this.
Yes, and it's in all avenues, I think, too. So we see it in the police, we see it in the church has created this whole, I'll say the church, we just because we have such little time and we can't unpack that, but really this respect is stolen from the moment that you're born into any of that sort of stuff, because you have to acquiesce to something that is not you all along the way, and that you don't have an opinion, you don't have a right, you're going to be judged from on high, and you're going to be thrown out of the pack on that one, and you have to sit at the table with your abuser probably through abusers through every festival in whatever religion that you're in. And it's going to be okay, honey, you'll be all right.
The religion thing is interesting. I've got a new book out called The Answer, and the answer is in there. Yeah, it's just whether people are prepared to go with it.
Right.
Because the answer is very simple. We can bring this to an end very quickly if we remove the cause of the problem, which is human acquiescence en masse to authority. Authority has no power. It's only power it has is the power we give it. If we said no and used the power of no, we'd see very quickly how little power or no power the authorities actually have. Their power is in our acquiescence. But you are looking at a situation whereby the few throughout human history have always controlled the many by the many acquiescing to the few. I mean, the answer is there. But what I'm talking about in there in one chapter, which is called why men, I think it's why men, why Christianity and other things, is how Western society is being dismantled. And I'm not a Christian, I don't follow a religion, but Christianity, because of history, is weaved into the fabric of Western society. Mm-hmm. And the dominant racial group within Western society is the white race. And so if you're going to bring down and transform Western society, you target its pillars and its structure. So this is where all the targeting of white people as being evil is coming from. This is where all the Black Lives Matter stuff is coming from. Right. Of course, Black Lives Matter, but the capital letters Black Lives Matter is an organization that was created and is almost entirely funded to vast amounts of money by the 1%, the corporations and the billionaires. Right. And so you have a situation where you've got an organization that is supposed to be standing for the rights of Black people, that is actually owned by overwhelmingly white billionaires. The irony is not lost. Why? Because they want to use that organization to divide and rule the Western society on racial grounds and to target white people for the main reason they're doing that. It's not racial from a 1% point of view. They are the dominant race in terms of numbers of Western society. So you target them and you undermine them. And in undermining them, you're undermining Western society. And then when you've sorted out the white and subjugated and got the white race into submission, then you go for the Black people. It's like that line in Nazi Germany by that pastor, Niemöller. First they came for the trade unionists. I was not a trade unionist, so I did nothing. And then they came for the socialists. I was not a socialist, so I did nothing. Then they came for the Jews. I was not a Jew, so I did nothing. Mm-hmm. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. This is the process. They're targeting the white race now, but the idea is once that's sorted, they'll go to another one, and then another one, because they want to subjugate everybody. And so then you come round to Christianity, and under the language of and the rules and laws of political correctness, you cannot criticize any religion except Christianity. Say what you like about Christianity. No, the politically correct mafia are not bothered about Christianity. Say what you like. You can't say anything about any racial group, but you can say what you like about a white male, anything you like, or toxic masculinity, because they're targeting specific groups and structures on the road to completely transforming Western society. So if you look at this pandemic. When I started writing the answer, which was in October last year, I was coming to the end of the book by the time all this kicked off. Now I've got 2 massive chapters which dismantle the whole story.
Right.
but the reason I mention that is that the first 85% of the book was written before all this kicked off, and Bill Gates already gets many mentions because he's funding so many areas of this cult agenda. It's unbelievable, even before we hit the pandemic. But where I'm going with this is I was laying out, I lay out in the first 85% of the book what the agenda is and what this cult wants to impose upon the world. And then I've watched these boxes being ticked one after the other. For instance, I've been saying in the book since about 1993-4 that the plan was to get rid of cash and only have a digital currency, a single world digital currency and no cash. Well, what did Tedros, the mouthpiece for Gates, who is a mouthpiece for the cult, what did he say very early on? You can catch the virus from money. It's best to use credit cards, right?
Yes.
And the papers, the papers were straight in. Oh, yeah, you can catch it from money because we're putting the propaganda. Oh, but you can't catch it from newspapers.
Right. And you can't catch it from going in the liquor store either.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Anyway, so what's happened in this period is the use of cash has plummeted. And that's exactly what they want. And another box to tick, of course, has been the church. They want to destroy anything that actually is a means of people coming together
Gathering place.
gathering places. They want to destroy them all.
Yes.
This is the real reason, not to do with health. This is the real reason. They're saying you can't gather except in very small groups. They've just changed the rules here with a fascistic Johnson government, not that he's running it, and said that from 30 people that can gather in one place, I don't know what they made of the 35, 40,000 that gathered 2 weeks ago in Trafalgar Square, but now it's only 6. And what they're doing, they've seen Trafalgar Square, they've seen 35, 40,000 people, and they've gone, oh, hold it, there could be a momentum here. So we've got to try and stop it. Well, we've got another one on the 26th of September, and we'll see where that goes. But the thing with the gathering, of course, they don't want human interaction. They want to drive people apart. This is what the social distancing is, and the masks and all the rest of it. So what's happened in America is they shut the churches down, which is exactly what they want. Oh, we know it's the virus. Nothing to do with the virus. You want to destroy Christianity because of it weaves through the fabric of Western society. Even though I'm not a Christian, for the same reason. And I do mention this as an aside in the answer. When the present Queen goes and Prince Philip, I think it's the beginning of the end for the royal family in Britain and the Commonwealth, because what's left is William and Kate. The American lady has taken off
Meghan and Harry.
Yeah, she's taken off woke Harry into North America to tell him what to think, which has basically left William and Kate and of course they're in their 90s, the Queen and Prince Philip, because again the royal structures have played a major role in the evolution of this control system. But in the world that we're going into now, they don't need them anymore. For all their faults, which are endless and don't start me, again, like Christianity, even though I'm not a Christian, I'm certainly not a royalist. I mean, my God. The royal history and the royal parts of the structure, like you look in Britain, it's not the governments or the people's, this organization, that organization, that organization. It's Her Majesty's courts, Her Majesty's police, Her Majesty's military. And what they want to do is to transform all that into this global structure. So I can see, because again, it's all to do with targeting the pillars and the structures of Western society. I can see the royal family being dismantled as when the present incumbents pass on, which can't be a million years from now.
Yes. Well, and it's a delicious story that you have really been following for a really long time. And we're out of time on this episode of Master Your Life, but I want to just take the last couple of minutes to encourage people about a few things. First of all, buy the book, The Answer. Start a book club to actually have conversations about what you're reading. You don't have to necessarily buy everything you read, but you could. And it's just this start to actually have conversations that would help you to expand your mind about what is going on in the world. That's the only way that you're going to get out of the dream spell of this dystopian land we've been living in. And some people were born into it. Honestly, most people were born into this. So it really is an untangling job. We can do things really quickly. I think that's your story of hope around how we can transition this thing. You've got upcoming events that people can tune into right away. And again, how do they get to you, David, now that you've been deplatformed? Let's just get on to that quickly.
Oh, I'm still all over the place. I mean, I do interviews at least 1-2 a day.
Yes.
And they get out across the web, and of course I've got a big website as well. And right. What's extraordinary on one level is that despite all the censorship and all the bans, the interest in my work has just exploded, and doesn't seem to have been affected by it. I'm sure it has in terms of, the numbers that I used to get on YouTube. But in terms of the interest, it's just going up and up and up. But we've got a massive media platform now.
Yes.
Called iconic.com. davidicke.com is the main website, but iconic.com, which my son Jamie started in November because we could see this censorship coming, now has about 750 different series, full-length documentaries, podcasts, every subject you can imagine. All the stuff that the system wants to suppress and not let people see is all on Iconic. And on the 19th of September, a week on Saturday, I'm going to be doing through the Iconic platform, where we have our own player, so that we are not dependent on your Vimeos and all these people and your YouTubes. A 4 to 5 hour presentation. What I've been doing over the years is doing public presentations. And I talk with hundreds of illustrations, and so it's a visual and verbal presentation. And I'm going to be doing that live on the 19th, and we're starting at 5 o'clock in the afternoon UK time. So the whole thing will happen within the Saturday daytime of North America. And I'm going to be pulling the whole story together, not just demolishing the pandemic hoax narrative, but putting that into the context of the bigger picture. And then after a 10-minute break, in the second half, I'm going to be looking at what we do to turn this around. And like I said, we can turn this around really quickly if people are only prepared to remove the cause of the problem of the ages, which is humanity giving its power away to a tiny few people. But to also appreciate the nature of the power is to understand the nature of the I. So I'm going to be going in the second half of this presentation into the nature of reality and the nature of what is the I, because it's not the labels that we call ourselves, they're just experiences. The nature of the I, the eternal I, is incredibly profound, and that's the way out of here. Just start to connect with that, because we've been disconnected from it by all the programming, all the mind programming, which basically acts like onion skins, layers and layers of perceptual programming, which focuses our attention only in this tiny band of frequency we call the world. And once you start to break out of that program, those bubbles, as I call them, and tap into expanded awareness, not somebody in a spaceship, expanded awareness that we all are, then the world changes, and suddenly all the dots and pixels that you were looking at before, what's going on? Everything's all apart from everything else, and then suddenly the pixels become pictures, the dots become pictures, and you start to see what's really happening. And all it is just expanding your awareness by breaking out of this myopia of perception, which is just the programming. And this is not, someone sitting on cross-legged on a mountain like the Buddha. I'm a wise man. It's everybody can do this whenever they choose. We are all points of attention within the same flow of infinite awareness. At that level, we're all each other. Right. And the focus and self-identity with the labels that we are given, including human, which is just a brief experience, have not only isolated us from the influence of that, they have provided all the different labels that can be played off against other labels to divide and rule the target population. Do that, and the game's over. And I'm going to be talking about that and how we can do that in this live stream as well.
Yes, so it's just such a wonderful opportunity. If you have heard David speak, that's awesome. Listen again.
It's all moved on.
honestly, it's repeat, right? It's like that rinse and repeat, and it is getting out of that, the jellyfish of the current reality.
Exactly that. Yeah. I mean, you used the term earlier.
Hmm.
You said breaking out of the dream.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Hmm.
It's a dream. It's a fantasy world. It's a
Yeah.
virtual reality world that we have been put into by control of our perceptions. We can break out of it whenever we choose.
Yeah. Can't wait to be in attendance at that, David. Thank you so much for the work that you do, and your continued. One of the things I really appreciate is that you're. I went to sleep thinking about this interview last night and thinking I had some really good coaches in my life. I was very athletic in my young life, and I know that you had an athletic background a little bit. We won't go into that. But one of the things is I had a couple of really good coaches. And you know what they did is they just cheered and cheered and cheered and cheered, and were really good teachers, but they continued to cheer no matter how far the team was down, no matter how far somebody was behind. They always figured out how to encourage everybody to, like, get up to the next play, get up to the next play. And that's one of the things that I really do appreciate about just your activity in the world over the last 30 plus years, and showing up that last weekend in Trafalgar Square without a mask, and being a real presence, and that is at personal risk. So I do want to acknowledge how much I appreciate that, that you would take some personal risk, and just to continue to be such a awesome coach for anyone who is uptaking, wanting to be led and wanting to really understand how you can bring forth your own life mastery, your sovereignty, and that might probably be the best 6 hours that you spend in your life in 2020. So why not get a seat?
That's very kind. We should also remember that the darkest hour is just before dawn.
Yes.
And this is a very dangerous time
Mm-hmm.
because of all the impositions that are happening. But it's a time of fantastic opportunity because the denial of what's going on is becoming more and more difficult, and more people are getting off that fence. Now we have to move from seeing it to ceasing to cooperate with it, and we can get on with our lives with the psychopaths no longer in control.
Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, more and more people are reaching out and actually communicating. So I know that this is a really pinch point for a lot of people, but the people who've been sitting in the back aren't sitting in the back anymore. So let's keep that momentum going. Everyone who's listening to this podcast, share it. Take time to share it on social media. So many people forget. We get in our own little insular bubble and go, oh, I'm going to go to that thing, but we don't actually tell our best friends. We don't tell our mom and dad. We don't tell our kids. They don't even know what's going on sometimes in our life. Lots of people will say to me, my family doesn't agree with this stuff. I go, well, how much of it are you sharing with them? Oh, well, I'm afraid to share it.
Yeah, the point you're making is so important. I'll just give you a personal example.
Yes.
I did an interview with an organization in Britain, London Real. It was the second of a series of interviews I've done since this pandemic hoax was played.
Yeah.
And immediately, it was live streamed on YouTube, and immediately it ended. They deleted it. Then I was deleted off. It was deleted off Facebook after it had 1 million views, and it was deleted from everywhere. But what happened? This is the point you were making. What happened is people were encouraged. It's a very simple process. You send more if you can, but if you send 5 copies of it, links to it, because we found another platform that wasn't going to censor it, and you ask those 5 people if they like it, to send it to another 5 people, who send it to another 5 people, and when you do the maths, the number that you reach very quickly is phenomenal. And I've started getting emails of that interview, not only all over the world, it went out to millions. One estimate was 10 million, simply by people doing this. I was getting emails that it had been turned into Colombian subtitles, Spanish subtitles, all these different countries.
Right.
And that was outside the mainstream internet of YouTube, etc., and Facebook. It was just people, 5 people, sent to 5, sent to 5. If you do the maths, the numbers get stratospheric very, very quickly as you go through those levels. This is what we need to do. When people say, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. Well, I'm sorry, there's endless things you can do. And if you tell yourself you can't do them, A, you're disempowering yourself, and B, you're giving yourself an excuse not to do them. Right. We have to do what everything we can do to inform people. And I know from the impact of that interview that it had a phenomenal impact on so many people, and it never would have done had those people, individuals all over the world, done what I've just described.
Yes, absolutely. It is. We have now got momentum, or more momentum around. Okay, well, how do we actually show up at these protests? How do we actually do? Like, there's just so many tentacles going out from this that are pure positive energy, and that I was encouraged as a grandmother to my beautiful grandchildren to say to them, once again, no, grandma's not wearing a mask. When we go out to do stuff, I don't wear a mask. Haven't worn a mask since this whole thing began. I have taken my children out, my grown children out in public, and said, let's go in together. And if anyone challenges us, then we're gonna face this together. When this whole thing started, also, David, I know we're running over a little bit, but our Prime Minister Trudeau said that we could be looking at this for 2 years. That was actually what came out of his mouth. And I've called my children and said, are you guys willing to actually put up with what is being proposed for 24 to 48 months of our lives? Like, is that what you actually imagine is going to be our life? Do you imagine not seeing your grandparents, these kids' great grandparents? How are we going to manage this? And that conversation right at the outset set what our family was going to do, but through the encouragement of people like yourself, Sacha Stone, Dr. David Martin, and there's countless others who are really strong speakers for research-based responses to things. And also, because you guys have gone out in the world in real time and put your money where your mouth is, like actually doing the things that you say that you're not going to do, like doing that. That is what encourages people to follow through on not masking, not going to let my kid get their arms stuck with whatever. We haven't gone into anything in the 5G, blah, 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 this interview, but you're going to unpack that all in the upcoming live stream, I'm sure. Transhumanism.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. I'll go into that.
Yes. All right. So now we're done.
Yeah. Lovely to talk to you. It's been a great pleasure.
It's been a wonderful interview, David. And we will invite everyone to love each other, mind your mind each other, take care of yourselves, be good to one another. That's all for us. Love you all. Bye for now. If you enjoyed today's interview, please consider becoming a supporter of the show. The clear mission of Master Your Life has been to be as devoid, free, and separate from corporate, church, and government funding, influence, and interference as matter is to antimatter. Master Your Life has been a platform for free speech since 2016. So please check us out on Patreon, Master Your Life. Thanks everyone for your support. Looking forward to seeing you on the next episode.